You don't know what the fuck I do.
Fuck you. Fucking shut up.
That should be like... kidding. Shut the fuck up. Welcome to Ordinary Nerds.
Well, you heard it first. Welcome to Two Ordinary Nerds, a podcast that talk about ordinary fucking nerdy things. I can't even keep it quiet to edit this goddamn podcast, Daniel.
So how you been?
Oh, you know, it was a good weekend. Got to see the start of our movie goodness this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the movie goodness you're talking about?
Logan.
Ooh, was it good?
That was a pretty good movie.
I liked it too.
Yeah. Other than that, you know, weather's nice. It's not cold that much anymore, so
yeah, it's getting pretty good.
So, what are we drinking on today?
We are having Smithix. It's an Irish ale. It's pretty good. If you love beers, you have this before. You had to. So I'm just gonna.
Smithix is made by Guinness.
Mm-hmm. And it's a good 4.5 beer.
It's their dark English ale,
Mm-hmm.
Irish ale, whatever. I would give it a 4.5. I love Smithix. And then our next beer that we are going over, it's called Urban Chestnut. Emphasis on nut. Brewing Company. And it's a St. Louis IPA. So, I'm going to try it.
Let's see. Tell me what you think about it. That's alright.
It's weird. It's definitely not a normal IPA taste.
No, but it's not bad.
It's not horrible. I'd give it a 2.5.
I'd give it a 3. I think it's one of the first times I give a beer higher rating than you do.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this episode. It's basically Logan. Our thoughts, impressions, and a little plot info.
We're just be talking all things XMen.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen Logan, go to the movies, watch it, or come back when you're done.
Or if you just don't care and want to hear the spoilers, then fuck off and listen.
Right, let's take a stab on this episode and see how it goes.
Follow us, bub.
So
that movie fucking sucked. What, are you a fucking ending like that? What? You could have done a lot better, don't you agree?
Well, the thing that bothers me a little bit, let's go with things that bothered me of this show.
Okay, I'm totally kidding. This movie was amazing.
It was a really good movie. It was good. It was gory. It was gutty. It was blood.
There's a lot of good things about this movie, but I agree with Daniel. We should start off with cons this time, because we usually are emphasis on, what's good first. Let's start off with the bad, and then go in lead with the good.
For me, the bad thing is they try to get continuity so basically Logan has this adamantium bullet. So people who do not know that, this adamantium bullet is shown in
Wolverine Origins,
which basically if he gets shot in the head and he loses consciousness, he doesn't die. So you were saying, well, maybe. So basically, it's like, well, how can he get? What would he die now, but not die in Origins? And the second thing is like, well, maybe his mind cannot regenerate, but that's not true, because in Days of Future Past, his mind does. That they say that you're the only one who can go back, because your brain and your mind is the only one that can regenerate.
Spoiler alert: Jack dies at the end of Titanic.
He does. That girl did not want to share the door.
She wanted to let go.
She did.
Fuck you, Rose.
But what is your impression of that? Like that big loophole. Like they try this. It's a big loophole, but they still try to attach continuity in it.
This is the only thing, is that they try to do it to where there was a way where Logan could die. But I'm pretty sure, because it's Hugh Jackman's last movie, so they have to do something where he is written off.
Okay. I get the reason why.
I get it. But I agree with you. I agree because the adamantium, the first thing when that happened and he showed the bullet, I was like, well, that's only going to erase his memory again. So he's going to lose all that memory, but it doesn't kill him.
Yeah.
And I don't understand.
For me, I would have wanted how Wolverine dies in the comic. Maybe him and the clone Wolverine fight.
The son.
It's not a son, it's a clone.
No, but I'm saying that in the comic, I thought that's like, I would assume that would be one of the only ways he could die is just being thrown into the fucking sun.
No, he dies, a whole bunch of adamantium falls into him, and he becomes a statue of adamantium.
Like the girl in the second XMen movie.
Basically, that would be a good way to kill Wolverine. Like a battle, and he realizes that he has to push himself with his clone Wolverine. But I mean, that was my first one. Then my second complaint, and this is very specific to me.
I have one more thing to touch on.
Okay,
before.
Sorry.
Okay, so for instance, like Batman vs Superman, when Superman, you see the dirt shaking. I could see more it happening to Wolverine versus Superman, because I mean, Wolverine in the comics has been ripped apart before, so I don't understand why a single log, although it was a very large log, impales him. How that just writes him off. I think
they were trying to portray that he's getting sicker and sicker, and his healing factor is not going to be able to kill him.
Yeah.
And after being fighted and shot so many times, his healing factor was just shut down. That's my impression of why he died.
I am happy.
I'm not happy about it. I think it's kind of lame excuse, but I'm saying that's what I think they were going for it.
I'm happy they wrote it off, though. I'm happy they gave it for, even though it's kind of, I mean, being just the nerds that we are, them giving the death like that, it doesn't follow continuity very well, but it is a good death. Like I like, for him, it being his last movie, they killed him off. I don't like it being left open, like you say. You know, it needs to be a story, and we have our ending. So if they do another X-Men or another Wolverine, they can do a completely different story, and it gives them freedom versus, we never know if he's going to come back. Is he playing the same Wolverine? Is he playing different? Now we know if he comes back, or if there's another Wolverine, it's a different story, different storyline. And same, Xavier's gone. That is awesome, too.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I understand why they did it. I just think there were better ways to portray it. But
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier.
No, it's fine.
What's your next?
My next complaint is me personally. So X-23, she seems to be knows Spanish, and she is technically the daughter of Wolverine or a clone of Wolverine with Mexican lady. So for me, it was kind of bothering when they were talking in Spanish and then repeated in English. So it's you hear it 2 times. It's like, close the door. But she did it in Spanish, but they didn't have to do it in English, so they're American audience, so people who don't speak Spanish can get it.
I think that they should have just done subtitles instead of doing that, because
that was personally me, just because it seemed redundant like twice. But yeah, I think it would be nice if it showed Wolverine, because he lived a fucking long time and knows a shit ton of languages.
He does.
He knows Japanese. He knows Russian. He knows English. He knows Spanish. So he could have been like conversation in Spanish with subtitles, or just make it like a couple words. Oh yeah, he knows Spanish. She knows Spanish. She knows English. Go back to English. But for me, it was kind of bothersome.
It makes sense. I mean, why repeat what you're saying?
But this shows how good the movie was if I'm picking the small little details, because this is really like 5 minutes of the movie.
They didn't use Google Translate.
They did not. But it's really like 5 minutes of the movie, isn't it? Like they actually do Spanish, English, because it's basically at the end.
A lot of it, when she does have parts where she speaks in Spanish, and it's just that you don't know what she's saying.
Oh.
And I really like that. I mean, I like how you could see the cultural differences between. He's like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying, lady. And she's like, oh, you're driving me nuts. Why can't you just fucking listen to me? It really, I think it ties the story well together. And eventually, she's like, okay, I can speak English.
Something else I thought was kind of funny was Wolverine is Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
So technically his daughter is technically Canadian. She would be Canadian, Mexican, Canadian, Canadian, Mexican.
Yeah.
she doesn't need to. She can go through the main door.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have to go through the woods. She can go directly to the border.
I don't know how that is, but well, technically Logan's from the U.S.
Logan's Canadian.
But
Logan is Canadian.
Really?
Wolverine is Canadian.
No matter what.
No matter what. If the movies say that he's American, I'll be pissed off. He is Canadian. And
even when he was born as a kid, before he lost his
always
memory.
been a Canadian. That's the whole entire story. Like, he was a Canadian. Like, he's the Canadian, and he lived most of his life in the States, but he's Canadian, and he was part of the Canadian team Alpha Flight.
Oh, okay.
So, that's what
something
I thought was
every
kind of funny. I was like, when I was thinking about it, she doesn't need to go, run the border, because she's technically a citizen, especially in Canada. Like, where anybody is like, oh, yeah!
My other complaint, I would say, I think it would have been nice if they would have at least delved in a little deeper as to what the fuck happened to all the mutants. They say, oh, Charles did something, but they don't say what. I don't like not.
That's an Easter egg, ish. So in the Old Man Logan, the comic, which this book and this movie is more or less, took reference. In the comic book, Mysterio, Spider-Man's enemy, makes Logan hallucinate and think he's fighting all these villains that just stormed the X-Men mansion, but he's actually killing everybody. So he kills all the X-Men.
But then why do they say Charles is the one?
So, but when Charles says, I remember what happened, and that's the address, that's the mansion. So what happened is, Charles Xavier had like a seizure, and kill anybody next to him, because Wolverine can support it just because he has the healing factor, but all the rest of the people can't. So he kills every single body in that mansion. And then that's why Wolverine puts him there, so far away. So if he has another seizure, there's nobody around him to do.
But they said there's no mutants in there because they talked about that guy going after and hunting all of them.
Yeah, he creates a virus, I think, and kills everybody. Then they say something about it like, "Oh, I kill,"
He talks about him killing them, but
yeah,
I think I was more generalizing.
Yeah,
them talking about the X-Men because They emphasize so much on the core characters with Logan. He loves Jean, and the last time we see him is at the end of Days of Future Past. Technically you see him in Apocalypse, but that's completely doesn't really count. But we see him at the end of Days of Future Past, and everything's fine again.
Yeah, so the original Jean Grey and the Cyclops is there.
So why couldn't you at least just... obviously it's the movie industry, so you would have had to pay all those people to be in it, and they wanted an emphasis on Logan, which makes sense. But I feel they should have at least put that in for continuity's sake. At least described what happened.
I agree. I think it would be nice to just show it, but I think it just... I think, like they said, it was getting too convoluted. That movie was already long enough. I think they could have cut... That's my last complaint.
See, I didn't find it long.
I find it long. I think they could have cut a few scenes and make it a little bit shorter. I think they could have, but we're nitpicking here.
Mm-hmm.
None of our complaints are actually big complaints.
Yeah, there's not a lot. If I was going to dissect X-Men 3 or Wolverine Origins, oh man, there would be definitely way more complaints versus props of those movies. This is just, the movie's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And I think it would be a good transaction to start to talk about what we love. Oh, you can go ahead.
I love the depth of the movie. You get a lot of... You feel... In all the X-Men movies, there's so many characters that, you don't really get a depth of each character of how we feel about them, except for, Days of Future Past you do.
Are you talking more like the humanity side?
Humanity, yeah. You get their feelings. You get to know the person. You feel like, okay, I connect with this character. And with Logan... Each of these characters we're following and we're just involved with. Kind of like Game of Thrones. It feels like someone dies if one of our favorite characters dies. Like when Jon Snow died, we're all like, oh my god, that sucks. Or when the Red Wedding happened. But because we're connected to those characters. And before, and like X-Men 3 when Xavier dies, I was just like, okay, that's kind of sucks, but whatever. But in this movie, when Xavier dies, I'm like, oh man, that fucking sucks. I feel really bad because he's just a poor, old man now.
But I think that's where I was gonna get. One thing I loved is they made the human side very visible.
Yep.
Like the Professor X being that sick and seeing the sickness and seeing like how he's delusional and how he takes the medicine and that relationship with Wolverine, like fuck you, Logan, and then like take your fucking medicine, and he takes them because at the same time it's like a father-son relationship where the father is really sick because I think they're the only two that actually know Days of Future Past who actually experience it and remember it. So they experience all their lives again. So they basically experience 2 lifetimes together.
Yeah.
So I thought it was amazing to see that father and son with Professor X and Logan and a father and son. I remember that the scene that was pretty well done when Logan is carrying Professor X to the bed and you can see the daughter looking at him and you can more or less see that she's learning like this is what you're supposed to do. That's being good because Logan tries to be all tough, but he really is pretty soft. And that relationship with her getting bigger because at the beginning he didn't give 2 shits about her. When Professor X gets killed and the X-23 is taken away, he goes first to Professor X.
Yeah.
So that was I was shocked at that moment.
Well, he's closer with Professor X. I mean, that's his family.
But it's a little girl who technically is her daughter. And you know what I mean? But
Logan
heroism, like you were saying in the comics, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
He went directly with Professor... The hero would have left Professor X and went for the dance of distress.
Yep. But that's not Logan.
That's not Logan, but that makes that movie amazing. That was like the humanity side. Not, they're like human. They're like, oh, he gets his ass kicked a shit ton. Like he gets kicked unless he goes in fury mode, like with the
Berserker rage.
When they were stealing his tires, the thugs stealing his tires. He got his ass kicked until he went in Berserker rage and started chopping off bodies. But he was in the floor. Then he got in the floor again with the mercenaries.
Yeah, I really like the humanity of it.
But that connects with you're saying, like what makes it so good. Like you care about them because it's not a superhero. It's not somebody like you care because it shows your humanity.
Isn't Xavier? Doesn't he have like a power to regenerate or something like that though? What the fuck? So that whole thing with because Jean basically disintegrated him in X-Men 3,
but he gets his mind somewhere else.
But
he doesn't have no regenerative powers.
Well, then his body's completely intact because he comes back after the Wolverine and Logan's like, you died.
He technically moves his mind to somebody else.
But it's the same body.
I don't know. But then he has no regenerative powers. He has a mind. That's it. His power is the mind.
I really like that though, with him being the most powerful mutant in the universe or in the world, other than Jean.
Well, he's still not that far.
Oh, powerful mind.
Yeah,
whatever.
He's at Omega level, but he's not.
But it still shows that they're not, and they're vulnerable.
Yeah, to human illnesses.
Yeah, which is really neat. I love my favorite part was because in the show, all the movies. They don't ever really show him going full berserker rage like in the comics. Because in the comics, if he's enraged enough, there's parts where he lifts a car, and I've seen that. And I really like how he takes all that medicine, and finally they show him just go batshit crazy and just whoop ass. And then X-23 working with him and her jumping off of his back and attacking the other guy. I was like, this is freaking cool.
I wish they did that with the comics and X-23 fights Wolverine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he fights him because he blames her existence to him. And he's like, I didn't know you existed. This is not... But he fights with her. I wish there was like they could have cut like a moment or two or both of them just a little... Make me like a 5-minute fight. Because X-23 is more agile, but Wolverine is stronger. In the comics even.
For now, but I mean, when she's older,
she's still weaker. She's a female.
But
I saw this YouTube video explaining what would have more cutting power.
Are you talking about the Nerdist thing? Because
I think so.
Yeah, I watched that too, and her claws are stronger than his
because of the point of impact.
Yep.
So I thought it was kind of interesting.
I really like the science that they do on Nerdist because they have a good point. They have these huge claws in their arms, and technically, if they have all these claws, they shouldn't be able to move their forearm at all. Their arms would just be stuck straight all the time.
I never thought about that.
Because they go back in, they retract into the forearm, unless they could retract all the way past the forearm to where they could do that. But still, I mean, as close as they are when they come out, their arms would be like just stiff the whole time. They would be able to like do stuff, but they couldn't move up and down because if they moved up and down with as sharp as adamantium is, the shit would fucking come out.
And I also thought it was kind of funny that the claws, if they didn't have superhuman power, it would stop hurting because it was scar tissue would create it like an earring. And they wouldn't hurt; it would just come out and up.
But now it hurts every
time. It hurts all the time because it regenerates. So the tissue goes back, and they have to recut it every single time. But if it did not, it will have scar tissue, and it would be like an earring, and we'll go up and through without no pain.
I wonder if he would have kept taking that medicine slowly and had enough of it, if it would have actually healed him, and he wouldn't have been sick anymore.
I don't understand. That's the thing that they didn't explain how the mutants die. I think there has to be that. He's fighting he always gets poisoning. He always has that poisoning. That's why there's Deadpool regenerative powers are quicker. They're Wolverines, but they're faster because his body doesn't have to fight the adamantium poison.
Oh, okay.
So Wolverine, technically, his healing factor is slower than without the adamantium because he doesn't have to fight it. So I think he's fighting adamantium. I think he's fighting whatever virus is out there. Plus, he's getting old. He has to be a couple hundred.
Yeah, they said I watched a deal today about when they're doing their junket press stuff for IGN, and they said that he was about 250 years old.
So I think it's yes, but the thing of comics, every artist is different. Mm-hmm. There's comics that he regenerates from a cell. Mm-hmm. There's comics that he cuts him in half. He's still fine. So
I like this one better. I like the grounded level where he still kind of has that, but it does show that he can't live for thousands of years. Yeah, he lives longer than normal humans, but it does eventually catch up to him. He just ages differently.
I think it was kind of weird how fast it catch up. Because then he was young, super old. Yeah,
especially with Days of Future Past. The last time we saw him, he was. I mean, I would say he looked like he was in his 50s.
No, that's the thing. That's why they killed him. He said he doesn't know if his body can keep up, and that's fair enough.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, no, he did say there was one instance he would have stayed in if Marvel would have actually crossed over with,
but maybe like a movie or two.
He wouldn't.
He can.
I could see why Robert Downey Jr. does it, because his isn't very grueling, because a lot of it is just him in motion capture.
It's going to be the next one. The people are like Captain America, Thor,
Black Widow.
Black Widow, she doesn't have to be like, I'm not saying that she's not in shape, but she doesn't have to have like eating raw eggs for 8 months so his mass is... Well, you see Thor's arm, and you see Captain America, they're like a leg.
I think we're going to see, at least in some way or form, at the end of the next 2 Avenger movies, just like Logan, someone's going to die. Because a lot of them, their contracts are...
They need to, but with a story too.
Yeah. Move on with new Marvel characters. I mean, it's cool if you keep some of them there. I mean, we're not going to complain about that. But like Clint, I mean, Hawkeye's cool, but he has a family now. Like, they should probably just let him go back and do his thing, be done being an assassin or whatever.
Yeah,
I like how you laugh about that.
I think if they don't kill somebody, it loses their risk factor.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're not gonna die. It's like those TV shows that like Arrow. That's a good example. they may kill side characters, but they're not gonna kill Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see that's the thing with Game of Thrones, the first season, you're like, they're not gonna kill Ned Stark.
And then they fucking kill Ned
Like,
Stark.
holy shit. It's like, oh, they're not gonna kill Robb Stark. And they kill fucking Robb Stark. And then they say they're not gonna kill Jon Snow. And sort of, they killed him, but then they bring him back. But it brings, like, you don't know who's gonna survive.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I wish and I wish Walking Dead took a bigger risk and something like that, because you can really tell there's at least two characters that are untouchable. That's Rick, and
I really thought that they were going to kill Daryl off with Negan. I think that would have been more impactful. Versus Abraham, because Abraham
the war is coming. The war is coming. Yeah. I can see an easy way out with Daryl dying, trying to say, what's the guy with the melted face?
Oh, Dwight.
I can see Daryl's risk dying to say Dwight.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we go any further with that, that was our review for Logan.
Yeah, and I will give it a good 4 beers.
I give it 4.
It's one of the best X-Men, one of the best Marvels.
I love that movie. My favorite still is Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
I love that movie. And I would say this is right under that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is, if not tied, a little under that, but yeah, I like it.
Do you think they're going to go back to they're going Apocalypse X-Men?
Yeah.
And continue through there? In theory, Wolverine should be there if they go back there, because that's the past, isn't it? But this is the future. This is 20-something, 2020 or 20-something.
They're not going back to the original cast.
No, but I'm saying the original cast with Sophie Turner. And, do you think they're going to go back to them?
They are going back. They're going to start filming soon for the new X-Men movie.
So do you think they're going to get a new Wolverine?
I don't know.
Because that Wolverine should be alive by that time.
I don't think that they're going to have Wolverine in there, though.
That's going to be like that's another loophole. That's what I mean. Like, I don't mind if they recast a new Wolverine. Like, but Tom Hardy will be a good Wolverine.
He's too old, man. You can't just throw him in there. He's already in his 40s. He's almost the same age as Hugh Jackman.
I don't know. Let's go with, who will you choose as the new Wolverine?
Oh, man. Well, it has to be someone short. Because Wolverine's short. I don't know. I think that they should stick with tradition and just find someone. Because, Hugh Jackman was a nobody. He worked in a theater in Australia. And then he just happened to... His agent helped him get that. And then they said he was it. I think that they should just get someone...
I don't know.
It's just kind of like...
nobody, a new one?
Yeah, just like Spider-Man. Tom Holland he was in some movies, but he was kind of a nobody. And look, I think he's the best Spider-Man. he's...
Oh, I can't tell. I'm not going to say he's the best Spider-Man until I see the Spider-Man movie. That's being fair to everybody. He was, 20 minutes in the movie?
I still think he was...
But it's 20 minutes in the movie.
You're the Spider-Man expert.
That's why I'm waiting. I want to wait. I want to be fair, because it's unfair to compare with 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give them their fair chance. See Homecoming, and I will give you my answer. My Wolverine pick, I think, will be Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift would be good. She already has an in with Orlando Bloom and Tom Hiddleston.
Uh-huh. So they can with a cigar.
Yeah.
Fake chops in the sides.
What are you doing, bub?
Yeah.
I think it would be cool if they just continued with X-23.
As the new Wolverine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was really good. I actually was going through there. I'm like, dude, what we need is this to be, connected with Stranger Things.
Oh, too bad.
And then 11 and her go together. Of course, 11 at that time would be older, but still those two going together.
Yeah, she was pretty badass.
I really like having the new roles of ladies going in there being just badasses instead of always just dudes. I think it brings a
Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
I heard it's gonna be a badass.
Captain Marvel looks awesome. I mean, Brie Larson is a really good actress.
I'm craving it. I want to see Wonder Woman. It also looks good. So
Wonder Woman looks good. I thought Justice League came out sooner than it does. It doesn't come out till November.
I'm excited for them. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I just want good movies.
Good movies.
Is there anything else that came out?
Well, I was gonna say, since we're on X-Men kick, what would you, out of the X-Men?
X-Men or mutant? There's a big difference.
Yeah, let's just say mutant. If you could be a mutant, who would it be?
Franklin Richards. Reed Richards' son. He can manipulate his power is manipulate reality. So I can do whatever I want. I can delete somebody from existence. I can make myself more powerful. I can make everybody else less powerful, more powerful. Yeah, I can do whatever I want because reality, I'm the one that manipulates it. It's like God.
If I had to choose down to it, if someone was like, you don't have a choice between multiples, you can only choose one, it would be Wolverine. I mean, I've been obsessed with Wolverine since I was 2. I love the X-Men.
I went with power. I didn't go with love. I go with power. My favorite is Nightcrawler.
I would have to go with what my favorite is. And Wolverine, I'm a history nerd, so being able, even though it would suck and be lonely, it would be cool to go through a whole time, like just be able to live that long would be awesome.
What would have happened if somebody catches you, tie you to a box, like, what is it, what show is it, the American Horror Story? And tie you to a box and bury you. And you're stuck there for eternity. You're not gonna die. You're gonna regenerate, technically. If you're going comic book Wolverine.
Well, if he had his claws, he could just dig out.
Not if you tie him like that.
He would still find a way.
Well,
if Berserker Rage happens and he can lift a fucking car, I'm sure a few.
But you can lift. You know how you don't get that brute force. I'm just saying,
Professor.
The man team chains, tie you to bury you on the ground, parking lot on top. For all eternity, you're gonna be like,
God, this sucks.
I always thought, like, how would I kill Wolverine? My favorite is Nightcrawler, and one of my things I like to do with Nightcrawler is I would just take him in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and drop him. He basically will sink.
He won't die.
But he will sink.
He'll just sink and you can...
No, he will pass out until you get him out of the water, but he will be...
Oh, yeah, just like, yeah.
He'll be unconscious. He will be... If he wakes up, he's going to be... Oh.
I would... But my issue is with picking one is I have 2 other favorites, and Magneto is my runner-up. I love Magneto. I think it would be awesome to manipulate metal because it would be hard for anyone to cross you. I mean... Manipulate
reality. You can delete
obviously,
Magneto.
Yeah.
You can make Magneto a human.
But I didn't know that guy existed. So.
Oh.
And
he is Fantastic Four kid.
And then... On the opposite of that, to contradict Magneto, my other favorite is Colossus.
No. Russian. My favorite is Nightcrawler. I always like Nightcrawler a lot.
I love Pyro. I think Pyro's neat.
Have you watched Legion?
I have been watching Legion. I haven't watched last week's episode.
So you liking it?
Yeah, I like how it's not in the same universe and it's completely different. It reminds me of Clockwork Orange. Mm-hmm. It's really fucked up and trippy, but still gives you that X-Men, like when they're escaping in that first part when they're escaping the episode and the dude's just flinging people in the air. I'm like, why don't we have that in X-Men? Why is that not in any of the movies? You have Jean and Professor X that have these mind powers. Why aren't they just going...
Professor X cannot levitate.
He can't?
No. You didn't read your comics, boy.
I thought he could.
No. Jean Grey has telekinesis. She can move but she cannot control your body. Professor X can control your body, but he cannot move objects.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he could.
No. Why do you think he could? He never does it. He can make you jump, but he can't levitate you and throw you away.
Huh. I never knew that. I thought he could.
Think about it in the comics. He Maybe you're thinking about the cartoon because he has like the chair that levitates.
Yeah.
But it's not. He's not doing that. That's the futuristic chair. And he just goes like... I just wanted... Something I wanted with this Logan before I let you go is I wanted to see him in the Jello suit.
I understand why they don't do that. It's
just,
it's
with the little kids, I thought they had the opportunity when they were cutting there.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be fun if they it's like here, and they give him like a cheap suit. Maybe it doesn't have to be super leather, but just a cheap suit like here.
It would be funny, but
and he has to like he wears it because all his clothes are bloody and destroyed.
If
he has to wear this yellow suit.
If they did that though, it just wouldn't.
It would fit perfectly because the kids would have had the cartoons, and he's like, "Oh look,
yeah,"
and because they cut his beard.
But it wouldn't make sense though because of the way he was acting. I mean, it was a darker movie, so I mean,
I'm just saying, I think it would be fun. I'm not saying that he would have had a gun, but he could have put it on.
They should have
and he looks down and he's.
They've had 17 years to put it in. I don't understand why they haven't.
Was it in? It wasn't the Wolverine, the one that he's in Japan.
Yeah, he slid it out, and they have an actual. They have the suit, but
it looks fucking sweet.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, if that would have been, I think it would have been. I would have been.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, with the comics and with the XMen '90s show, I like it, but I like the black suits. I mean, I'm not gonna. And
it makes sense.
The Days of Future Past suits were awesome. I thought those were cool.
They were yellow.
The space suits that they were in, kind of the futuristic suits that they were all in.
I like the yellow ones from. What is it? Not Days of Future Past. That was the First Class.
Oh, First Class ones. Those are cool.
But I thought it would be fun. I thought they had the ability. They had the setup to be like, fuck no, I'm not gonna use this, and takes it off and then wear something else. But that they cut his beard and there's like all your clothes was bloody, so we are washing them. In the meantime, wear this, and it's a Halloween costume of the yellow suit, and he'd be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And then they may actually attack, and he rips his shirt, and he has like only the pants, and you're just going without the pants instead of the tank top.
I still haven't realized, like, it still hasn't hit me that, like, Hugh Jackman's not going to be Wolverine anymore.
Yeah.
It's surreal. I remember to the day, walking into, which is ironic because, 17 years later or something, because I think the same year X-Men came out is when the Great Mall opened, and they tore the Great Mall down this year also, and I remember walking in there. My dad and I went to like the 11 o'clock showing of X-Men, and I remember walking in there to that theater and going to see it.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's a good way to end the...
Yeah.
So I'll say let's cheer for Hugh Jackman.
Thank you for 17 years, brother.
Thank you.
Did a great job if you ever want to come on the podcast, which would never happen, but...
Just follow us on Twitter Nerds. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Gmail.
That's not a lie, people. We are on Twitter. Comment on this. Have we got any questions or any comments?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we're not famous enough yet.
Yep. So, cheers and see you guys next week.